All right, hello everyone, and welcome to today's class on DocuSign 101. My name is Leah with Scott Leroy Marketing, and in today's class we'll be going over the basics of DocuSign. So this class is designed for agents who have not been in DocuSign or maybe you've played around with it a little bit. That's great, you'll get even more out of the class, okay? This will walk you through A to Z how to use DocuSign and all the basics that you need to know to send your clients contracts to be signed electronically and so forth. Okay, so the first thing that you'll need to do is actually log into Command, and that is agent.kw.com to log into Command. And if you have not already, that is a great thing to bookmark in your bookmarks bar of your browser. Again, that's agent.kw.com. You'll be coming here a whole lot. So you can go ahead and bookmark that. And you'll want to log in, and this login here is the same as your MyKW login. It's the same as your login for Kelly. So they're trying to streamline all the username and passwords. And I don't know about you, but I have enough usernames and passwords to remember, so that's really great. All right, so and just a reminder, your password is case sensitive, and that does require an uppercase letter, lowercase letter, and a number as well. If you have any trouble getting into your account, you can always click Forgot Password right here, or email us at support@scottleroymarketing.com, and we're happy to help you reset your password. And you can click Sign In. So again, we're signing into Command at agent.kw.com. And if you have utilized .loop in the past, right, you know that the best way to access .loop was by going to MyKW and clicking on Start My Transactions from there. So DocuSign will be very similar in that sense, that you'll always go into Command at agent.kw.com to access your DocuSign account. And I'll be drawing some similarities between the two systems in today's class. But the first thing we need to do is make sure that DocuSign is connected to Command. So to do that, let's go ahead and click on our name on the very top right. And then let's select Settings from that drop-down. All right, so again, your name on the top right and Settings, and that will take you directly to the connected apps that you have hooked up with your Command account. Okay, so your connected apps will be at the top of this list. So if you are seeing DocuSign near the top, all right, that does mean it's connected, especially if it says disconnect account on the right-hand side, okay? But if you need to scroll down further to find DocuSign, okay, so again, at the top, those are all your currently connected apps, and you can keep on scrolling down to find DocuSign on that list. I believe it's under productivity originally, all right, but once you find the DocuSign option, you can go ahead and click Connect Account on the far right to log into your DocuSign account right away. Okay, so you will want to make sure that DocuSign is hooked up to Command. If you get any weird error messages or if you have any issues connecting DocuSign to Command, go ahead and email support@scottleroymarketing.com. We'll just need your Command login and password and DocuSign login information, and we can connect that up for you. Just a heads up on that. Okay, so now that we have that step one, our DocuSign account is connected, we need to have a contact in our database to practice on. Okay, so unlike .loop, you have to add the contact to your database first in order to create a DocuSign room. Okay, so this, and we'll be going through this, don't worry, but the steps are we create a contact first, we'll then create an opportunity in KW Command, which will then create a DocuSign room for you. And I'll show you all of that. So first things first, let's go ahead and create a contact. So you can click on the contacts option on the left-hand side of the command menu. And just a quick tip on this command menu on the left-hand side, as you're starting to learn the navigation, you'll notice if you hover your mouse over any of these menu options, it pops up telling you what that section does. And also, if you click on the KW logo on the very top left, it'll pop up here and show you what those are. Okay, so you can start to memorize those. All right, so we are in that contact section. And we need to go ahead and add in a contact. So on the top right, I'll add a contact. It's really great to have a test contact in your Command account so that you can practice on things on this test contact before trying it on your clients. So it looks like you know what you're doing, always a positive. All right, so if you want to go ahead and put in, I think I'll put in Michael Scott here, all right, for any Office fans. And an email address, so if you have an email address, like a personal email address that is not connected to DocuSign, go ahead and put that in, right? And that will allow you to see what it looks like when your clients receive forms from DocuSign to be signed. So I alwa't like to see the client view, so if my clients call me asking for questions, I can walk them through that. All right, so we'll go with michael@dundermifflin.com. All right, so for this test contact, we really just need a name it test contact, whatever you'd like to name it, and an email address. Again, I would recommend putting in your personal email address and click create. And I am trying to get over a cold, so if you're hearing some wheezing and coughing, sorry about that. Everyone I know is sick, so I'm just getting over it, so I apologize about any of that. All right, so now that we have a contact created, that was step 1, and now we need to create an opportunity in Command. You've probably been hearing that, and I'll tell you what that is in just a moment here. But how we get into the opportunities section is by clicking on the handshake icon on the far left command menu here. So that's that opportunities section on the far left. Okay, and what you are looking at here, if you've not played around with this much, this is going to be kind of like a sales pipeline. Okay, this is showing you where your contacts are, where your leads are sitting, literally from the time that you meet them. Okay, and they have that in the cultivate phase, and it's this cute little plant, giving you the idea of growing in the relationship. Okay, so this goes from the beginning of meeting that contact to the appointment, going active, under contract, and close. So this goes far beyond just being a contract to close management system here. This will be literally, they call it lead to close instead. Okay, so that'll show you exactly where each contact is in your pipeline here. So it's a very visual tool, really great, so that you can see, okay, what items do I need to do to get them from this cultivate phase, right? I met them, they're my acquaintance. What steps do I need to do to move them over to the appointment phase? You can set to-do list, task list, and in these different phases to move that contact through your pipeline here. Now, I teach a separate class on this specifically, so if you would like the class on opportunities, feel free to go to slmtraining.com and you can access that class right away. So that is a separate class there. But for today's class on DocuSign, we will need to create an opportunity. So on the top right here, you'll see create opportunity. Well, let's go ahead and click on that. Okay, so once I click on create opportunity, again on the very top far right, excuse me, we do have some required fields here, right? So anything with a red asterisk is required, right? So if you are part of more than one market center, you can choose which market center that's under here, okay? You can go ahead and pick your team name if you would like to put this opportunity under your team, if that applies to you. Opportunity type, so we have either that's listing, buyer, landlord, or tenant. Okay, so you can select what type of opportunity this is. I'm going to do a listing for today's class. All right, the owner. That is a little confusing. That is not talking about the owner of the home. That's talking about the owner of this opportunity. So that will always be your name. So client here, so this is where we'll need to go ahead and put in our client, so the one that we just put in. So again, they'll need to be already added to your database in order to select them from this list. Well, where is my Michael Scott that we just added in? There he is. All right, we got Michael Scott buying a home here. And you can add a co-seller as well, but again, both of these would have to already be in your database to pop up there. Opportunity name, so you typically want to name this after the property address if you know that, okay? So in this case, I'll go ahead and name it 123 DocuSign Rocks Drive. Okay, you can name this whatever you would like it to be, and you can always change this at a later time. So this is not set in stone. Right, the only things that are set in stone are really your client name. You cannot change that once you create the opportunity, in the market center and team names here. Okay, so those will stick and stay. All right, you can add tags to the opportunity to make it easier to find, like buyer, seller, foreclosure, short sale, and so forth. Okay, it's really for your organization. We have an estimated close date, estimated listing price, and commission rate if you know that information. But notice that some of these fields don't have that red star, okay? So it's not required. So I'll go ahead and just put in my commission rate is 3%. opportunity phase, let's talk about these bottom options real quick. So this opportunity phase and opportunity stage, what that is referring to is that sales pipeline that I was just talking about a moment ago. Okay, so if you want that opportunity in the cultivate phase, so that would be the very first one, you can go ahead and leave that there. Or if they're already in the appointment or active phase, you can change that out from this drop down as well. So let's say I already have them in an appointment phase. And it breaks it down even further. And once you click on the sales pipeline, you'll see that it has even subcategories or stages to that phase. So you can put where they are in the appointment phase, opportunity phase, right? And we'll click create. So again, just to overview these bottom two, you are deciding where you would like that opportunity to be on your sales pipeline. And it can always be moved along. So that's not really too big of a deal. And go ahead and click create on the very bottom. Sorry, that was a little fast. Go ahead and click on the create button on the very bottom of that opportunity. It will take you into the opportunity details section. Okay, so here it will show you all the information about the opportunity. You can always change the opportunity name here as well. And wherever you guys see this little pencil icon in command, that does indicate that you can edit that. So keep an eye out for that, and that will always allow you to edit that. And let's pop on over to the documents section. All right, so we're in the documents section right here. Okay, and in this document section is where you will have to go in order to access DocuSign. Okay, so you'll see on the far right here, it says start a transaction. And if you have .loop connected as well, you would be able to click on .loop from here, but just a heads up on that before doing anything. I just want to let you know that once you select either DocuSign or .loop to put this connect this opportunity to, there's really no going back, okay? So if you want this opportunity to be connected to a DocuSign room, make sure you go ahead and select that option from the get-go here. Okay, so we're selecting DocuSign specifically from that list, if you have more than one. Okay, when you click start a transaction, it might take you directly on over to DocuSign. Okay. So again, and it varies from whether it says go to transaction or start a transaction, depending on if you've selected that. But once you select DocuSign, it will open in a separate tab here. Okay, so that's in two different tabs at the top of your browser that you can go back and forth between. Typically, it will prompt you to log in. If you're looking at a DocuSign login screen, that's good. It typically prompts you to log in. I just have already logged in before. So you can go ahead and log into DocuSign. And just while you're doing that, just note that you do have the command, your command account in a separate tab and DocuSign in a different tab. So you can easily toggle back and forth between those two tabs. And once you create that, once you go ahead and log in, it will automatically have that DocuSign room created. Okay, so this was the name of my opportunity, as you can see, and now that is the name of my DocuSign room. Okay, if you've been hearing the word DocuSign room and you're like, what the heck is that? Right, I feel you, I was there too. All right, so the DocuSign room is the exact same verbiage as a .loop loop. So where there were loops in .loop, there are rooms in DocuSign. So same exact concept, it's just where all of your documents and info for that property will sit within DocuSign. Okay, so it typically always takes you on over to the document section first, which is where you'll be spending most of your time within DocuSign. But before we do anything further in document section, we need to pop on over to details. So go ahead and select on details on the far left of the menu. And we'll want to go ahead and click on edit on the far top right here. So this details section is very much like the view details section of .loop, okay? All of this information here will autofill onto any form that you bring into your DocuSign room. Okay, so if I click on edit on the top right, can we see that pencil icon? We can go ahead and put in some information here. So we can rename the DocuSign room if needed right here. You can change the side that you're on. So if you have a very great day and get the buyer for your listing as well, you can change that to list and buy side right from here. All right, you can update any of this. The main things that you'll want to update is the address and the seller information on the top, or the client information on the top right here. So let's go ahead and do that. So first of all, where it has the address, I'll go ahead and name this 123 DocuSign Rocks Drive. All right, so if you want to go ahead and put in some of the property information just so you can see what it looks like when it autofills on your forms in DocuSign, I would recommend it. Okay, and you can just put in a little information. So I just have the property info here. And on the top right, you'll also want to make sure you put in your contact or your client's information as well, as this will allow them to be added to the form more easily when it comes time for signatures. And I'll show you what that looks like. But for now, let's go ahead and put in our seller's name. So I'll have Michael Scott. I want his email address, michael@dundermifflin.com. Okay, and as you scroll down, you can even see seller 2 here. So I do want to give you 2 sellers so you can see what it looks like. So we'll have Holly Flax, of course, his soulmate. And we'll have Holly@dundermifflin.com. Okay, so you can see that you can put in even more information. And as you scroll down on the left-hand side, you'll see all the all the property information like offer details, high bid confirmation, additional info, and so forth. Okay, so you can scroll down and see all the info you can enter in. So this is a great time saver for you to utilize. And also if you're a new agent and you're looking at these long forms, wondering where to put all the contact information and all the information about the property, DocuSign knows. So if you put in the details here, it will autofill it onto your forms. So it saves you time and is a great learning tool. So definitely worth the time to do it. And on the bottom right here, we'll click on Save. You see a black bar at the bottom. Go ahead and click on Save here. And you'll get a confirmation that the room has been updated. So we can come on over to the Documents section. I'm clicking on that Documents section. Now, in this document section is where, of course, you will be adding documents to your DocuSign room so you can type in those documents and send it to your client to be electronically signed. So that is what we are doing here. So in this section, we can come up to Add on the very top right. And we have quite a few options from there. So we have the option to add from your computer. So if you have a PDF saved to your computer, you can add that to your DocuSign room. And we'll be doing that in just a little bit here. I'll show you how to edit a PDF. We have DocuSign forms, which in theory are your interactive forms, meaning that you can just type right in these forms. And that's what we'll be starting on in just a moment. If you have a Zip Forms account and you have that linked up to DocuSign in the settings, you can access that here. And you can also access forms from Box, Dropbox, and Google Drive right from here. Okay, so what we're going to do first is go ahead and click on DocuSign Forms. So again, I clicked on Add, that top blue button on the top right here, and then click on DocuSign Forms from that drop-down. Now, so you do have the option to connect your association to your account. However, not all associations are on this list. So if you click on where it says association, you can scroll down to see if by chance yours is on there. However, it is a little limited, and so not all are available, but you can put in your NERDS ID and association to go ahead and pull those in to your DocuSign account. All right. For right now, though, we're just going to go ahead and click Skip. All right, so I'm clicking Skip here. Okay, and once you click on Skip, it should bring you to a pop-up to look at forms further. There we go. Just took a second. Okay, so this will look different depending on your market center. All market centers are working with DocuSign to get all interactive forms into the DocuSign account. Okay, so if you do have these available, you will have 2 options at the top here. First of all, we have our forms library, and then we have that broken down into groups. So the library here, if I select that, it will show me all of the forms all together. Okay, these are my boards for my local association. Versus if you click on the groups, the DocuSign Forms group, you might have those broken down even further. Now, these are added in by your office staff, these groups. So first of all, yours will look different than mine. And if you do not have the groups option, there's nothing wrong with your account. Your office is just working on setting that up. But if you do have an option here, we'll go ahead and select, let's say, a listing file from there. Okay, or of course, you can search in your library. either one, and it will show you all forms that are uploaded into that group. So I can go ahead and search for the form I'm looking for right here. So if I was looking for a listing agreement, for example, I can go ahead and type in the word listing or the form number to find that and click on the checkbox right away on the left-hand side. And I'll give you a second to pull in a form. You can really bring in any form that you would like to practice on. It will be the same concept in theory. So if you'd like to go ahead and find a form, click the checkbox or the check dot here on the left-hand side of the form name and click Add. You can select multiple at once. And while you guys are looking for those, I just want to go ahead and send out the DocuSign notes that I have written up as well. All right, so if you prefer to, after class, if you want to print out these notes just on a Google Sheet, share it out. So you can print those out so that when you're going through this later, you can follow along with those notes. If you're watching this class recorded, I will put those notes on the description in the YouTube video on the bottom there, so you can look for it there. Okay, so once we go ahead and click on the checkbox or the radio dot, we can go ahead and click Add on the very bottom here to add that form to our DocuSign room right away. All right, it might take a second to load, but you'll see that pop up in your DocuSign room. And to edit that, all we need to do is go ahead and click on it. So go ahead and click on the form. And it will pull up that form here, and you might see some fields that are auto-populated. So on mine, I can already see my clients' names on the top here. Right, because I put that in the details section. And I also have the property address, right? This is autofilling because I put it in the details section at the beginning. So you can see how now every time I pull in a form, it's going to autofill that basic info so I don't have to type it in every time. So it does save me time there. But outside of that, if there's anything else you need to fill in, which there probably will be, all right, you can simply go ahead and click on any of the fields and just start typing. All right, so any text fields, again, are as simple as clicking and typing. So let's say this will expire on 4/5/2020. Any radio dots that you see or checkboxes, you can simply click on. All right, and that's really all as hard as it gets as far as filling out these forms, okay? So you'll simply go through and fill out all the text fields that apply to this form. And once you're done with this, and this is really important, so if you are taking notes on today's class, please note that once you are done filling out the form, that you do click Save and Close before doing anything else with the form, or you'll lose your changes, okay? So make sure we click Save and Close. On the very top right. And then we'll take a look at how to get this form signed. Okay, so we saved that. So I don't know about you, but I always just like to double check that it did actually save and that my content is there. So I'm going to pull that open again so I can double check that. And once it loads and I confirm that I do have my saved content, and there it is, I can then come up to the document actions on the very top right. So this icon looks like a little piece of paper with a folded corner. Okay, so you can come up here and it will give you a bunch of options. All right, you can rename that, move it to another DocuSign room, you can download it, print it, and so forth, archive and delete it. But again, before doing anything in this document action section, please make sure that you save and close the form first before going on to DocuSign it, is where we're heading to next. All right, so we are now going into to show you how to send it to your clients to be electronically signed. All right, so we filled out the entire form, we click Save and Close, and now we come up to the document actions and select DocuSign from that dropdown. Okay, and that takes you on over to an envelope, which is a newer concept with DocuSign that Dotloop did not have. So the way I think of an envelope is literally like in snail mail, okay? I filled out this entire listing agreement. I am now stuffing it in an envelope and I'm going to put it in the mailbox to be sent to my clients to be signed. Is there a way to change the font? I had a listing. I had a listing where the seller name was a trust and couldn't fit in the line provided. Great question. We'll take a look at that in just a second here. I'll go back and confirm that with you. In the next section, you'll have another opportunity to edit things. So let me look into that. That's a really great question. I'll answer that during the duration of class. All right. Okay, so in this envelope section, there are a few things that you have to do and some optional things that I like to do. So little tips, envelope name, you do not have to change anything. However, I like to put in that this is the listing agreement that I'm sending off, okay? Because once you go through the transaction and you have a lot of envelopes being sent, so a lot of forms being sent out, it's nice to be able to know which forms were being sent in each envelope. So you can put the listing agreement, maybe even the date, if you would like to, and the time it was sent. Okay, it will date and time that, stamp that, but in the very least, I like to put in the the form name. We see the form that's being sent, and you can always click View here, and you can always add further documents if you want those to go in this envelope. Okay, the one section we 100% have to do here is we have to add a recipient before proceeding. All right, so in this Add Recipient, we do have a few options here. The easiest one is selecting PreTag Roles. Okay, so if you go ahead and click on PreTag Roles here, it will pop up here. So next to Seller 1, I'm going to click Select, so where it says the recipient, and I'm going to go ahead and select my client's name from that list. Now guys, the reason this is showing up, the reason these clients are showing up here is because I put that seller contact information in the details section when we first came into DocuSign, okay? So make sure to do that. So again, when you first come into DocuSign, in the details section, put in the seller's contact information on the right-hand side so they will display here. So then you can go ahead and select the first contact for seller 1, and then we have seller 2 as the wife, Holly Flax. And we can click Add Selected. Okay, so we do have to add our clients in here. Now there are some features that .loop didn't have here as well. So first of all, if you need to, so you'll notice these ones on the left-hand side. So if you wanted to send those in a specific order, let's say, for example, you want the mortgage provider to receive the fully executed contract once your client signed that. You could go ahead and add in the mortgage provider and give them a 2 here, okay? So that mortgage provider would not receive the form until your client signed that first, okay? So the person with the 2 wouldn't receive that until the person with the 1 signs. It's a pretty cool feature there that you can use. We do have some other options here. You can view if they need to sign it, just need to view it. So again, if you're sharing that to a mortgage provider, maybe you would change that as just needs to view it. Okay, receive a copy or specify a recipient. You can also add access authentication. So if you wanted to make it password protected, this form that you're sending out, especially if you have a client who feels a little sketched out about electronic signatures, you'll probably run into that. Okay, and you can make them feel a little more assured that it's very secure by giving it a password right here. So you can make the password 1234, whatever you want to make it. Just note that you must provide the code or the password to the contact to be able to access it, okay? So you have to give it to them. So that is an option here, just a heads up. From here on the bottom, you don't have to put in a message, but you certainly can. This is what the email subject will be. And the email message, again, not required, but you could put in something like, here is the listing agreement we spoke about over the phone. Let me know if you have any questions at all. Okay. And then we can go ahead and click Next on the top right. All right, so again, all we had to do on this envelope section, the only mandatory thing was adding in recipients. Everything else is optional. And then we click Next on the top right. Okay, and that will take you on over to the form so you can preview that one more time before sending it out. And whoever asked about changing the font, I'll go back and look at that after we get done with this section here, so hold tight on that question. But for this section here, so really all you need to do is review everything and make sure that you see a spot on the bottom for your clients to sign. Now this will come much more into play when we're editing a PDF, okay? But you will notice on the bottom here we have 2 spots for signatures. If I come on the top left here, I see both my clients with that color associated to each client, right? We have Michael Scott as yellow, Holly Flax as blue, and that corresponds to the initial boxes that they will be able to sign, okay? So you are able to add further text boxes or a strike through or signatures and so forth by dropping these fields on the left-hand side. And I'm going to show you what that looks like when we edit a PDF in the next example. But when you're editing an interactive form, in theory, you've already completed the entire form. All I like to do here is check the recipient preview to make sure it's all set up correctly. So on the top right here, I just like to go ahead and see the recipient preview. I can see on the top left which client we're viewing this as. I can view that on a computer, tablet, or phone as well. So you can see their view there. And then I can see what it looks like exactly when they go through and sign the form, okay? So I feel comfortable that I see the initial box on the bottom of each page here. So I'm confident this is set up correctly. So I X'd out of that on the top right. Sorry, that was a little fast. So I just click the X on the very top right. And all I have to do now is click send. Okay, so there's not much you have to do in this phase here, in this section of the interactive form since we already edited this. I check the recipient preview, and then literally I just click send. All right. All right, and I meant to add myself to this as well, all right, since that is, you'll need to sign a listing agreement. But if there's ever a form that you need to sign, you can. It will take you back here, and this is all your envelopes, right? So this will show you, literally thinking of snail mail here, stuffing that in an envelope and putting it in the mail. So this is showing you each envelope that you have sent out, all right? So there will be quite a few through your transaction. So if there's ever anything you need to sign, you can sign that by clicking on this form. Lost sound. Is anyone else able to hear me? Let me know if anyone else can hear me. I can always call back in if no one else is able to hear me. Okay, great. Great, thank you guys for confirming. If you have trouble, thank you guys. If you continue to have trouble, yeah, go ahead and call in on this number up here. I know you can't really hear me, so it's kind of hard. All right, call in here, and if you continue to have trouble, ScottLeroyMarketing.com. Well, we're talking about emailing us. We do try to respond to emails within 1 to 10 minutes, if not quicker, during normal business hours. So if you email us, you'll always get a really quick response. So we try and answer your questions as quickly as possible. But like I was saying, I meant to add myself as the agent to sign this form, right? Because typically the agent needs to sign the listing agreement. Let me just go back so you can see this. If it is a form that you need to sign, you would be able to by clicking on the envelope. Okay, you would click on the envelope, and it would give you the option to sign here. Right? Again, I didn't add myself. I meant to. My apologies. But you can also resend it here. So if you tell Michael Scott, hey, I sent you that document. Did you receive it? And he says no. You can come in here and resend that. Okay, so that's a handy tip as well. And I'm going to X out on the top right here. All right, guys. So that is how you send an interactive form to be signed in DocuSign. If you are going through this at a later time, okay, and need to quickly overview this, I did create like a shorter 10-minute, maybe 10-minute video on how to do exactly what you just saw. So if you want to save that so that when you're actually going through this with a client, you can follow along with that video. It'll be a shorter version just to directly get you to what we just did. Okay, so before we proceed, I do want to check on that one question that we had on changing the font on a document. So I'm coming back on over to the document section here. I'm just going to pull open that document. In .loop, you used to be able to change the font. So I'm hoping yes, but I can't say I've seen that. Hmm. That's a very great question. There might be something further in settings on the font, and we'll be going to settings near the end of class, so I'll take a look there as well. If I cannot find this answer for you during class, please feel free to email support@scottleroymarketing.com and put attention my name, which is Leah, Leah, and I'd be happy to look into that to see how we can fix it to make that all fit on one line. So I'd be happy to help you with that. All right, so we'll see if we can answer that later in class for you as well. Sorry about that. Okay, so next thing that we have on our agenda is adding a PDF. Yeah, no problem at all. The next thing we have in our agenda is adding a PDF to your DocuSign room. So let's talk about some situations you need to use this tip. So first of all, if you don't have interactive forms, right, if you just went through that whole thing and you didn't have forms in there, again, your Market Center is working on DocuSign to get all those in there. But in the meantime, you can add PDFs of your forms into DocuSign to have them electronically signed. So that's one situation. Another situation, which you'll use continuously, let's say you're working with an agent on the other side of the transaction who doesn't use DocuSign, or for whatever reason emailed you a PDF of the form signed by their clients, and now you need to get that signed by your clients. Okay, so you saved that PDF attachment to your computer, and that's where you are. Right, so what you would do next is come up to Add on the very top right, and we're now going to select the computer option. So again, in this example, the agent on the other side emailed you a PDF of the form, the offer, whatever it might be, and you have saved it to your computer. We'll come up to Add, and we're selecting Computer. And if you happen to have a PDF of any sort on your computer to pull in, feel free to go ahead and add that just so you can practice. Let me see where I have my offer. Okay, so you find that on your computer, double click on the PDF, and that will pull that right in. Okay, so I can see a difference. So this little icon right here is pretty helpful within DocuSign. So you'll notice this little icon shows a form, and that means it's interactive, meaning I can just start typing in it like we just did in this example, versus this PDF right here, that little icon, means it's not an editable form, okay, off default. But I'm going to show you how you can edit a PDF. And the other little icon I've seen here that's helpful is it shows you when it's signed by all parties. It should say something like signed and a check mark, something of that sort. So keep an eye out on that little icon there. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on this PDF we just brought in to pull that open on your screen. Okay, so in this PDF, the nature of a PDF is that it's not editable, all right? So you can't just click to start typing in these PDFs, right? But DocuSign does have the ability to allow you to edit PDFs, which is really great. So that's what I'm going to show you now. So what you'll do is you'll come up to Document Actions, and again, that's the little paper icon with kind of like that dog ear on the very top right here. And you'll see a whole bunch of different options that you can do. Split is one option that you have here with PDFs, and just to give you an idea of when you might use the split option, it's a very cool feature. So you can split PDFs. Let's say if you put your entire sales folder, like if you scan in your entire sales folder and it's all in one large PDF, and you want to break that up so that the property disclosure is separate from the offer and so forth, you can split those up here and click Split. Okay, and you would just put in the new document name on the top left, and then the pages that you want it to be in. Okay, another time that this really comes in handy, and this might be different in your area for your forms, but for our offer to purchase in North Carolina, there is, we have to sign for receipt of earnest money, and that is not signed until after the offer is executed. So I like to break off that last page as well. So you can do that if you need to get that signed separately. So just some ideas on when you might want to split a PDF. Okay, of course, that's entirely up to you. It can be used for lots of different things. Okay, so that was the split option from the document actions. But let's go ahead and focus on the DocuSign option for now. So that DocuSign, right? Remember how I said anytime you see that pencil, it's kind of like to edit it further. Okay, that's what I always think of here. So DocuSign is, yes, to send it to your clients to be signed, but you can also edit it further, especially for PDFs. All right, so we're back here in our envelope, right? We stuffed this form into an envelope. Now we don't have to do anything here except add in a recipient. That's the only mandatory thing. But again, I like to go ahead and give the envelope name offer to purchase so I know what form I'm sending off. Totally up to you. Now we can go ahead and click Add Recipients here. We'll come to Room Participants. So that pre-tagged role option that we had for the last form that will not display for PDFs. But let's see, we do have Room Participants here. We can go ahead and click our two clients, Seller 1 and Seller 2. Click Add Selected. Okay, so we have to add our recipients in, and you'll want to do that from Room Participants or email address, either one's fine. And we can write them a message, but again, not mandatory. And then we click Next on the very top right. Okay, so this is where all these options on the left-hand side really come into play when you're editing a PDF. So first of all, on the bottom here, well, the main thing that we want to do is add in initial boxes for our client to be able to sign. Okay, so on the bottom right of a PDF, they won't be able to electronically sign unless you add initial fields. So again, we have both of our clients assigned to different colors here. So while we're on Holly Flax, our first client, you'll notice all of these are yellow. So if I click this initial box, it'll start following my mouse. So I can click to drop that here. Okay, and again, that is for Holly to sign, and it is a required field. Okay, because it's yellow, that's for your first client. So now if I want to go ahead and add in a spot for my second client to sign, I'll go ahead and change the client on the very top left. Got good old Michael Scott here. We're adding in initials. Okay, you'll see this box is blue, letting you know that is for your second client, and it is a required field. Okay. So in theory, the fastest way to go about that would be adding it one client at a time if you have multiple pages, and then going through and changing it to your other client to add those initial boxes all the way down all these pages. Okay, so that's one thing that you can do with these fields on the left-hand side. So on a PDF, you would have to manually add initial boxes and signatures. Okay, signatures are the exact same. Let me just go there so you can see what it looks like. And you can just watch on my screen, by the way, guys. So if there is a section they need to sign on here, okay, you would go ahead and add in the signature box instead. There we go. All right, so that would be the signature instead of initial, so same exact concept. So we have our seller signing here, and it just really makes me feel better when I look to the right and I see that this field is for Michael Scott, this client specifically, and it is required. So it confirms that every time, which I really like. So I can switch that on over to my other client, have that, drop that signature, and it is required on here as well. Okay, so that is how you go about adding initial boxes and signature boxes to a PDF, all right? But you can do even more with this editing. Let me come back up to the top here. So let's talk about some other situations you would need to edit a PDF. Let's say that you have a fully executed contract, but you need to just change one small thing. Maybe the name is incorrect, right? You need to change it to Anthony instead of Tony, or you need the street address, there was an error. Whatever the change might be, you can make changes on here as well, okay? So how I would do that, let's say first of all, in this example, I would like to change out, instead of my seller being Tony Stark, that needs to be Anthony. So we do have a markup tool, so it's kind of hidden. Okay, it took me a little bit to find that. So that is the little pencil icon on the far left of your DocuSign screen. Those are your markup tools, and that is where you have the strike through. So where it says line here, go ahead and click on that, and it will start following your mouse, where you can click to drop it. Okay, you can then pull your mouse on over to the end, so you can click to drop the entire strike through. Okay, so now we've striked it out, so we need to add a text box with the correct information. So I'm coming back on over to the far left menu here. We're going back to our standard fields. Okay, that's the very top option here. And let's go ahead and add a text field. So where we have text here, I can go ahead and move my mouse on over. I can click to drop it, to drop that text field. Okay, so let me point out something real quick. So you'll notice that this is solid yellow, Okay, if it's a solid color, that means it's a required field. Okay, so if you unclick where it says required field, it will turn it clear, meaning that it will not make your client fill that out. That's a really important thing to note, in my opinion. So again, if you're taking notes, go ahead and jot that down. If it's not a field your client needs to fill out, make sure to unclick the required field. So those fields need to be clear if your client does not need to fill it in. Okay, if you see a color, that means your client has to fill it in or sign it. If it's clear, you're good. That's all you need to do. All right, this text box, super small. So what we can do here is we can click on the little dot on the corners of this field to drag that and make it bigger. Okay, and whoever asked about changing the font, you know, to fit into the font box here, I'm still going to work on that for you. But, you know, putting it in here like this and expanding a bigger text box might be a good workaround for you. Just a thought. All right, so let's say we put in the text here. You can either write it here or in the add text field on the right hand side. So instead I want this to say Anthony Stark and Pepper Potts. Excuse me. Okay, and of course, as you know, any changes made to an executed document have to be signed by your clients. Okay, so then we could come up to the initial boxes here. We could lay an initial for our first client and our second client here, so that they can sign for this change. And since we see that it is a solid color, that means they have to sign it. Okay, it will make them to continue. And you'll see a whole bunch of different things that you can add in, including like their name, their email address. Okay, and this information pulls in from the details section if you have that entered in, and that's what we did at the beginning of the DocuSign section. All right, but you'll see a whole bunch of different things that you can add in, like a radio dot or a checkbox. If you need any of that, it is available to you. All right, guys, and once you are ready, so once you are done editing this PDF, I always like to look at the recipient preview, but then you can go ahead and click send on the top right. It will send on over to your clients, and it will take you back to your DocuSign room in the envelope section. So now in this class, for example, I sent 2 different envelopes, right? And now I can see that this one was a listing agreement, this one was the offer to purchase. Okay, that's why I like to have those, I like to edit the name of the envelope. So just a tip on that. Okay, so that is how you go about adding PDFs to your DocuSign room in order to get that signed. Okay, so those are the 2 main functionalities of DocuSign. And again, I did make a little short 10-minute tip video on this as well. So if you want to save that, that is how you add a PDF to be signed, and that's just a shorter 10-minute version as well. So you can save that. So when you're actually going through it, you have something to reference. Okay, so for the remainder of class, we're going to talk a little bit about the navigation of a DocuSign and your settings and what you need to edit further, and just some other cool features of DocuSign. So first of all, I just want to point out all these items here. So details, that is where we started class. That's what I keep referring back to. Really important that you start in your DocuSign room here to add in the seller's information specifically on the right-hand side, if nothing else. Okay, if nothing else, add the seller's contact information, and the property address. We have the documents section here, and of course, that is where we've been doing most of our work in this class. And while we're in this document section, just a couple other tips. All right, so we were looking at the document actions by clicking on the document to do it one at a time. If you need to do bulk actions, so you'll notice if I hover my mouse on any of these forms, this little radio dot appears on the top left, which I can click on. Okay. Now, once I click on these radio dots, these bulk actions appear. So watch, if I unclick, they're gone, but now if I click these, they will appear. All right, and you can also click select all on the top right. So these bulk actions are very similar to the document actions we saw by clicking on the document. So we have the option to copy that. So that would copy it into another DocuSign room. Okay, let's say if the transaction fell through and you need to move these forms into another DocuSign room, you could do that here. You could copy it, or you can move it. So either make a copy of it or move it completely out. You can email it from here. You can combine documents, which is pretty cool. You can select DocuSign from here as well, right? So if you clicked on DocuSign, it would take you to the envelope. So then you could edit it even further. You can download these. And guys, I would strongly suggest once you get an executed document, always download it to your computer. Okay, I personally like to have a folder on my computer, name the property address or client's names, whatever works for you, and have all my executed documents there. So if by chance DocuSign blows up, okay, highly unlikely, but I like to have a backup. So I would recommend that. You can also archive and unarchive here. So there's no deleting anything from the system. You can't delete the forms, but you can archive it. So if it was a practice you need to archive, it will at least get rid of it on this on your DocuSign room. All right, and you can also add folders, which I find to be very important for my organization in my DocuSign room. So if you click on Actions on the top right and click Add Folder, I like to have 3 different folders for a listing, and I would make that typically like my listing folder, sales folder, and closing folder. Okay, so that I can go ahead and move my documents. So all I need to do to move to different folders is I click to drag and drop it. Okay, so I can separate. There's like a million forms that go into a single transaction. So having those separated into the listing and sales and closing folder really helps me. So just a tip on that. You can create folders on the top right by clicking Actions. Okay, moving right along here, we do have the People section, which will show you any people added in this transaction. You will always see yourself, and you'll always see your office staff in here as well. And it will always say that your office staff is the room owner, by the way, which is a little confusing in my opinion. You can invite your clients through here, just a heads up. So if you click on Invite on the top right, you can add your clients here. Just be aware that when you add your clients in here, it does send them an email inviting them to the DocuSign room. So if you do add them, it will send them an email, just a heads up. We have our envelopes, right? And we've been playing around in here a bunch today. So these are any time that you stuffed a form in an envelope and sent it in the mail. Okay, these are your envelopes. You can see any messages. So if you want to talk to anyone in your DocuSign room, you can send them a message, and you can also see your history, okay, which can definitely come into handy. You really see every click in here, what was done by who, when it was signed, time and date stamps, you name it. So you can check your history here as well. Okay, so those are all these sections here. As we come up to the top, we have our dashboard. Okay, your dashboard typically takes a second to load. Your dashboard will be kind of an overview of all of your DocuSign rooms and any notifications that you have. So these are your top 5 most recently used DocuSign rooms. You'll have any activity, all right, if you're waiting on someone or if it's been signed by your client and so forth, any new messages. We have all of our rooms right here, as you might have guessed. So again, if you're like, what the heck is a DocuSign room? That is like the same thing as your loop and dot loop. So those will be all of your rooms, all of your transactions. Okay, right from here. I don't know about your account, but it does always take like 15 seconds to load. All right, so just watch out for that. So you can view that in a couple different ways here on the top right. You can do that in a grid view or a list view. That is totally up to you on the top right, depending on how you like to view those best. You can always toggle back and forth. You can always search by your DocuSign rooms on the top here as well. Your active, reviewed, and closed. I think it's just still loading here. Here we go. All right, we have our inbox here, which I'm going to show you a cool tip on this in just a second. So hold on tight to that inbox section. I'm going to show you how you can email forms into DocuSign in just a moment here. And we also have the My Docs section here where you can have your personal documents. If you have a forms section here, that will show you all the forms that your office staff has added into your DocuSign account. So only your office staff can add that. And again, they're working with DocuSign to get all of those in. Okay, so a couple little settings things to do, and I will show you how to email into DocuSign. And last thing I will show you is how to add your forms into Command, and then I'll go let you enjoy your Friday Eve. So first things first, let's go ahead and click on our headshot or your initials on the very top right. Or I think it's an outline of a little guy on the top right if you don't have your headshot. And let's come down to settings. All right, so in the settings section, so again, clicking on the circle on the top right and settings, you'll want to make sure that you overview all of your information here, that this is all correct. You can toggle which one is your default office if you're a part of more than one market center. Okay, so this will be your contact information here. On the left-hand side, okay, you'll be able to see your email address associated with DocuSign and your password. You can even change that here. So I'm just going down this menu here. So we have our contact information that we want to make sure is all correct. Okay, so just make sure you're going through and overviewing this, okay? I believe it should autofill in there. I can't remember if I put this in or if it autofilled. Either way, make sure that your contact information is correct in here. You'll be able to see your notifications, okay, when you're notified by DocuSign, so you can change that. But what I really want to talk about is our inbox details. Okay, so I did just mention that you can email into DocuSign. So let me show you how that works. So go ahead and click on inbox details, a pretty cool tip here. And you'll probably see your inbound email is something crazy. I think mine was like my name with a bunch of numbers, something I can never remember. All right, so you can change that. So if you want to change that to like your name or your first name dot last name, okay, it will end in @mail.docusign.net. So once you change that, go ahead and click Save Changes. Okay. So now that I changed my inbound email, I'm going to come up to the inbox here. Okay, we're back to the inbox. And notice here that we have our DocuSign email address on the top left. So it says, if I hover my mouse, it says this is your inbox email address. Any documents sent to this address will be added to your inbox, which is right here. Okay, so let's talk about when we would use that. First of all, this is the quickest way to get forms from like your email as a PDF into DocuSign. So let's say you're on the go, you're on the road, and you receive an offer to purchase in your email, and you want to quickly shoot that on over to your DocuSign inbox, so you can easily add that to your DocuSign room when you get back to your office and on your computer. Okay, and you can just watch on my screen here, so you can see how this is done. So first things first, guys, you would typically want to save this email address to your address book. So if you save this to your address book, when you're on the go, and I'm just switching on over, you can watch on my screen here. I'm switching on over to my screen. I had an offer. I don't use this email typically. That's why I have so many emails. I'm just going to send real quick an offer to myself so I can show you guys what this looks like. Hold tight. So again, in theory, you would want to go ahead and pull up the email that you have from the agent on the other side of the offer to purchase. Okay, thanks for hanging tight with me, guys. All right, so we're using our imagination. This is the email from the agent on the other side. I have attached the offer. I'm on the go. I'm in the car, and I'm just going to quickly forward this to my DocuSign inbox so I can easily grab that when I get back to my computer and not have to look through all my emails to find it. Okay, so first things first is we need to forward that email. Right, so we're forwarding this. If you're using Gmail, you would forward by clicking on the 3 dots on the top right and forward that. Okay, so however you forward in your email system is totally fine. And we are going to either paste in that email address, okay, or maybe you have that in your address book so you can just start typing it in and it'll pop up. And what will happen is when I click send here, it will ignore all this verbiage I have in the email, and it will only forward over that PDF into your DocuSign inbox. Okay, so I'm switching back over. I'm going back to the DocuSign inbox. All right, and it will not just pop up from what I've seen. First of all, I've seen it takes typically like 30 seconds. Hence the slight stalling here. Okay, and then you have to refresh your page. Okay, so it will not just pop up. All right, you would have to refresh your page. So you can refresh by either, I just clicked on the inbox right here to refresh that again. Okay, or if you click on the little arrow in a circle on the top right, voila, here we go, that was sent in. Okay, so this is my DocuSign inbox. So again, in theory, I was on the go, I was on my phone, I quickly forwarded that PDF to this email address and it pops in. So now, a couple hours later, I'm back at my office, I come into my inbox, and I can easily move this, okay? So I can easily click on the checkbox on the top left, right? And again, that little check, the little dot displays when you hover your mouse over the form. And it will then give you these bulk actions that I can move it or copy it, or even download and delete it. So I can move this, let's say, so that was that first icon. I need to move that to an active room that I have called 123 DocuSign rocks. Wait for it. Okay, so you're going to search your rooms here, and that should pull up the DocuSign room that we've been working on. Okay. Better late than never. So we have that selected. We click move, and it moved it out of the inbox here on over to that DocuSign room that we've been working on in class. Okay, so that is one way how to email into DocuSign. Okay, and there's just one more quick way that I'm going to show you, and then I will show you quickly how to get your documents into KW Command. If you can hang tight with me for about 4 more minutes, I will let you go. Okay. And so once you are in your DocuSign room here, so I'm going back to my rooms, and I just want to show you one other way that you can email directly into your DocuSign room. Okay, so the method I just showed you emails into your inbox. But if you want to email it directly into your room here, you most certainly can. It's just a slightly different method. The time that I have used this is if I am on my computer and I receive an email with an attachment that I need in my DocuSign room. This is the quickest way to get it on over to your DocuSign room by just forwarding it. So all you would need to do, so you'll notice this ID here at the top. Right, and you'll notice if you hover your mouse over that, it gives you instructions on this. Copy and paste the room ID number into your email subject in order to send the document into this room. So it wants you to copy this entire ID. So with the ID and the entire number, it wants you to copy all of that. Okay, and I'm going back over to my email so you can just watch here. Okay, so I'm going to put in my subject, and it's that same DocuSign email. Okay, and I have it saved to my address book. So now, all right, if I want to attach that, or if I already have it, right, you could forward it. Desktop, let's find this again. My handy PDF we play with. Sorry, hang tight, guys. Okay, and we'll click send. We come back over to our DocuSign account, right? I'm just switching tabs not to lose anyone. I have my email and my DocuSign open. And again, it typically takes about 30 seconds. And again, it won't just pop up. When you come into your DocuSign room, you will need to refresh. So you can refresh your page by clicking on the arrow in a circle, which is typically on the top left of your browser. And it hasn't come in yet, but it typically takes anywhere from like 30 seconds to a minute. But that is all you need to do to forward that on over. So again, make sure in the subject line of the email, we put this entire ID number, okay? And then when you send that email, it will pop up directly in here. Let's try it one more time before we leave. There we go. All right, so now that was the emailed offer to purchase that I have, and it pops right in. All right, guys, and I do have a little short tip video on this as well. I try to break down all these tips. So this is the email into DocuSign, so you can save that. Okay, very last thing. I know I've filled your head with way too much DocuSign info for one day, but you do need to know one more thing, and that is how to add a document from DocuSign into Command. So I'm changing tabs, right? I still have my Command account open because it's just in a separate tab, so you should too in theory. All right, so we're going back on over to your Command documents. Okay, and this will look different for you depending on what Market Center you're in. Okay, again, your Market Center staff puts in this section. So in this document section here of your Command opportunity. So if I lost you at all, you can go back to your opportunity and go ahead and click on the document section. You will need to also add your documents here in order for those to be reviewed by your office staff. So your office staff does compliance review, and so you will need to add these documents into Command so they can review those. So we do have a couple different folders here, and again, these templates look different because I'm in a different Market Center than you, so nothing's wrong with your account. But we have all the placeholders here. So in my listing folder, I see that my office staff, it requires these documents to be in compliance. Okay, so these are just placeholders. So what I need to do is come on over to add a file on the top, on the far right of the document name. And I have a couple options here. So I can add that manually from my computer. So if you have that document saved, you can drag and drop it or click right here to add that in. Or in this case, you can go ahead and select DocuSign. So if I select on DocuSign here, I can then go ahead and select the document name, and this is only corresponding to the DocuSign room associated with this opportunity. So this is not all your forms in DocuSign. This is just the DocuSign forms in that one room we've been working on in today's class. So I go ahead and click that, click Assign. And there we go. I see it's been uploaded. I see the form name that I can click on to make sure that's in there and all looks good. Okay, and once I add that in for all of the required docs here, I can click Submit to MC on the very top right to submit that to my Market Center to compliance review. All right, guys, so that is an extra step. You will need to add your documents to Command for your office to be able to preview those. All right, guys, that was the DocuSign 101 class. If you have any further questions at all, please do not hesitate to reach out to me at support@scottleroymarketing.com. You can put attention to my name, which is Leah, L-E-A-H. Be happy to take a look at your account and help troubleshoot anything that you need. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care, guys.